Hello, hello. I am Ada Babineaux, the San Antonio Black International Film Festival director and founder, and we are rolling right along with SABIFF 2023, our 5th year anniversary. We had to catch this next sister on the fly because she is so busy. So we were doing a conversation called Directors Hustle and Flow, and I want to bring in Kelley Kali. What's going on?
Hey Ada, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I mean, we talked to you in 2021, I want to say, when you
Mhm.
had completed Lola's house.
Lalo's house.
And
A little before that, that was my short. 2021, I completed my first feature.
yeah, that was like you had finished that already, and so we premiered that, and you had just made the feature during COVID.
Right.
And you were telling us about the feature, and I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
That's right. Exactly.
So tell us what's going on with you now since the feature. So where did I'm fine? Thanks for asking. Where has that been shown? Where has that gone?
Oh my God, I'm fine. Thanks for asking. Went all over the place. So world premiered at South by Southwest Film Festival, and it won the uh, special jury prize. Well, they gave it to me for multi-hyphenate storyteller. So they made a special award.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very, very shocking and kind. And so that got me the attention of Fox, Disney, and Hulu to be able to come in the room and pitch for one of their not series, but features that they are doing for their Huluween. So it was a different genre than I normally do. It was a thriller, horror. Mine wasn't so much horror out of all their slate. The other ones were definitely horror. Mine was more like a thriller, like a psychological thriller. And so I pitched for that and I won and I got it. And so I went and made that. And then as I was making that, my name was floating around rooms and I got looked at by BET for this other feature about Kemba Smith, who who was a phenomenal woman. Her story is something else. And I got to direct that one too. So I did 2 features in 1 year and moving on to the next. So it just like after getting into those festivals, it was rolling. But I'm fine it won at the Florida Film Festival. It went to San Francisco International Film Festival, Seattle. It went to Poland. It went to Switzerland. It went to Rome.
Did you travel with that? Did you travel with it or no?
I did. I went. It was great. Poland blew my mind. People in Poland, like we have like the Licks, the Alcoholics. That's like a very West Coast rap group in our opening sequence of I'm fine, thanks for asking. And like you really need to know West Coast hip hop to like know the licks. Like you got to be a hip hop head. And when we were screening it, people in Poland were asking, how did you get the Alcoholics? And I'm like, how do you know the Alcoholics? And it's like the Polish people are up on like American culture and Black culture. It was like a really great experience. And then it sold in Europe too. It went to theaters. So we were in theaters in Europe, in the UK, in our UK, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, I think. And then we went to after doing a theater run, we went to streaming out there, and then we also sold to HBO Max, which is now Max, but at the time HBO Max, Eastern Europe. So we're all over Europe. And then we also sold to BET and Showtime here in the US.
Oh, it was I didn't even know it went to Showtime here.
Yeah, well, they both bidded for us. So whether or not, I don't always know like where it's screened or not, but our distribution just has it out. Like I also know it's on Amazon Prime. It's also on Apple. It's on like our distribution really pushed. But there was like a little bidding war over it after we won. And that's something that's like super important in having the confidence and faith in your work, because when we were selected in competition at South by, I got approached by a lot of sales agents who were lowballing me significantly, like offering me $10,000 for the rights to the film. And I'm like, 10 grand, that didn't even cover lunches. Like, and they like legit, but they will kind of scare you into thinking that maybe you might not sell. And that's true. You don't always sell at festivals, and trying to get you to sign up with their team early for a very low rate.
But a
And
lot of filmmakers are very desperate after their first film. They're just excited to get approached. So how do you know your worth or your value? Because you did this for little to no money. You were using your unemployment benefits.
Some rubber bands.
So how do you know your worth? I mean, and have the confidence to know your worth, because filmmakers are just glad to get that first deal.
Yeah, it's true. And that's why these sales agents know they can do that, because they know you're young, you're hungry, you just got into a really big festival, you don't know if you're going to win. We were going up against, like, yeah, they're indies, but they were like financed indies. They were like in the millions, and like, you know, and so our little scrappy film, like, who knew? But what the thing of the matter is I probably could have got bamboozled if they came with a higher number. And I might have bought out, like, I might have done it just like below what I really sold it for, maybe. But they came so low for me that I just felt disrespected. And I'm like, I'd rather not sell anything than work with someone like you that thinks that the energy and the work that me and my team put into this is worth that. Right. And so that was more.
10,000 is nothing. You can spend that in a week.
Yeah, someone went up to 20. I was like, I don't know. You gotta trust your instincts. And like, I'm a person of faith, and I really, really just believe in those feelings that you get, that like, they're like, God is just follow it, even if it doesn't make sense, because there's money sitting right in front of you. Someone's ready to go right now. And if you get those inklings, you really got to trust it. Don't just jump at anything right away. And no, you are taking a risk, because it's true, you might not sell, but it doesn't matter. You got to know your value.
You got to have value in your story. You know your story has value. And especially, I think they try to lowbrow Black films because they know that they're desperate. So you may get offered a lower price than a white filmmaker's first feature.
And then don't be a Black woman. They be talking to you crazy. I'm like, who did you just say that? Like, so yeah, you have to be the one to teach people how to treat you. So
let me ask you this, because it just seems like you took risk for your graduate film, your thesis film. You took risk in COVID for I'm Fine, Thank You. And but what it got you to travel the world, pretty much travel. It got you funding. It got you looked at to be selected. So lesson from Kelley Kali, you all. How when you have no representation but yourself, how do you move forward from your first feature film to the offers, and what offers to take, what offers not to take, even knowing that you're ready to take when someone offers you a film? How do you know you're ready?
That's a good question, Ada. How do you know you're ready? Let me tell you, you're ready. Because it's the thing is that we, especially as people of color, constantly doubt ourselves and have to think that we need to do twice as much, 3 times as much, 4 times as much to be able to like really be ready. But the truth of the matter is that you are just as ready as anyone else. What I've learned is half the people starting out don't know anything. Like you don't know, you're learning, but you surround yourself with an experienced team that will make you look good, an experienced DP, experienced producers, and they will help you to be ready for the stuff that you don't know. But the thing is like there are tons of people out there that are getting these features and getting these jobs that aren't smarter than you. They're not more experienced than you. They're not more talented than you. The only difference is that they believe they're ready, or they're ready to take the risk and jump. That's the only difference between them and you. And oftentimes it tends to be white men, but that's because they were raised by the world telling them, you're good enough. You're good. You don't have to do all that. You're good. You just go. And we have to start feeling that way. And we have to start thinking like that. And we have to, like, when we start getting into positions of power, start creating more opportunities for each other so that we too can be okay with being scared and still doing it, and knowing that, yeah, you're not perfect. Yeah, you're not always going to be ready. What is ready? You're never ready for anything. If you're having a baby, are you ready? Are you like, if you're going to grad school, are you ready? Are you going to law school? Are you ready? No, just go do it. It's the same thing.
Because I look at Ava when she came from a very small film, middle of nowhere, and then jumped to Selma. And I've always wondered, it's like,
it's your
so
team.
Scared.
it's scary, but be scared. My theme has always been, do what scares you. Because that's where you're supposed to go. Like, if you follow all the easy paths and where you're comfortable, you're not going to grow. You have to do the things that are scary, that are going to push you to learn and to grow. And the best thing to do is surround yourself with the people who have done it before, who know what they're doing, and they're people who you trust to make you look good, because you're going to get the credit whether the movie's good or the movie's bad, because you're the director. And it might not be your fault that the movie's bad. It might be like the studio did something to it, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still your name. So that's why you want to associate yourself with a team that you trust, because
that's one of the things too, Kelley. When you got your team, you come through with your indie stuff. But when you move to productions, you don't know those people, and you can't really bring your people on all the time, correct?
All the time. Not all the time.
You're around people that you don't know to trust. So how do you manage the waters?
I make it a point to get to know everyone as well as I can. So there's a lot of people that walk on set and will walk right by Transpo. But I make it a point to go introduce myself to the captain of transportation and to the truck driver, all the union truck drivers, to say hello, good morning, hey, whatever their names are, learn them, say hello all the time. And same with, like, if you didn't hire, usually you're involved in hiring, but sometimes, like on Kemba, a lot of it was already hired. Crew was hired because I was coming in late. And but you get to know them, you talk to them, work it out. Like, really, it's heavy communication so that they now trust you, and they feel involved and they feel seen. One time, there was a mistake on where we're supposed to film the scene in Kemba at this college. And Transpo was told to park, that they could park in this certain area. And when I arrived on set, I was, and I mean, there were trucks. It wasn't like one truck. It was all of Transpo was parked in the area where we were shooting. And I was like, so our team had gotten them the wrong information on where they could park when they're getting there at 5 a.m. and stuff like that. And then when I get there at 7, I'm like, whoa, this is where we said we were filming. There's trucks everywhere. Now, normally Transpo Union, they don't move. Once they park, they are parked. They are not moving. You better figure out another way to shoot. But because I built that rapport and I built that relationship, because I know my AD was like, they're not going to move their trucks. They don't move. Look at all the trucks, And then so I went and talked to the Transpo captain. I said, man, we made a big mistake. This is where I had originally said I wanted to film. And somehow it got miscommunicated to you all that this was a safe place to park. And I don't know. I'm trying to find an alternative area to film in, but do you think you can help me? Because I really wanted to shoot here. And because I spent time talking to him every day, going like, hey, he was like, Kelley, we got you. Moved all the trucks. So, and my AD was looking like, I ain't never seen that before. So it's like, it's relationship. If you don't know your team, if you didn't choose your team, you've got to get to know your team. You can't be, in my opinion, it's best not to be the director that just comes on and directs and everybody's working for them. To me, it's like, yeah, everybody here is important. Obviously, like people ignore Transpo, like no one's talking to Trent because they're moving things, but every single person is important. Yeah. And so that's how I go about it when I didn't get to choose my team. I just make them my family.
So one of the things also that you mentioned is union. You're coming from independent film, no union, you're doing everything. You move to a Hollywood film, there's departments, there's unions. How do you manage the waters on that?
I don't have to. Those are my producers. I get spoiled. I love working with unions because there's rules and regulations, and you have to get things done in a certain amount of time. And I find that healthy, because we as independent filmmakers, we're willing to run ourselves into the ground for a story, and we have to treat our careers as if that's what it is, a career, and you need to have longevity, so you can't wear yourself out like that. And I find that when you start working with unions, there's all these rules that, like, it can't be over a certain amount of hours, can't be all, and to me that's healthy. So I like working with them in regards to, like, making sure we're meeting union regulations and all that. That's usually the producers. I don't have to worry about that. They just got to make sure they're doing it. I show up, I work with the crew, and that's it. But I find that union crew is very talented, and they move. I know there's a stigma of union people moving slower because they know they're going to get paid anyway, but my crew moved fast. They moved faster than my independent crew because they were experienced and they just knew what they were doing. And I think that if you make yourself available to them and show that you have regard and respect for them, then they move for you. I feel like they won't drag their feet because they want you to succeed. They want you to do well because you're part of the family. I try to wiggle in families. I'd be like, when's y'all having dinner on Saturday? Can I come through? I'd be like, how's mom? How's grandma? What's going on? Did she have her 90th?
So let me ask you this, because you went to an HBCU, you went to Howard University. And our festival is themed HBCU Film Love. Yes. So what, from your experience at Howard, that you walked away with, that you learned, has prepared you for your career and what you're dealing with today?
Oh my God. So I could talk about the values of HBCU all day long. So if we're just looking at the bigger picture and not filmmaking, because I studied archaeology. My major is in archaeology. So that goes to show you that it's important to know that you can still shift careers and do, but and sometimes, in my opinion, it's good to have a different background, because as a storyteller, it gives you access to more ways to tell a story, having different experiences. But no matter what you major in at a HBCU, and of course I'm going to speak for Howard, but I know that it's like this at all other HBCUs too, is they prepare you to have that level of confidence in who you are as a Black person, to go out into the world and navigate. Is kind of like what I just talked about at the very top of our conversation about just knowing you're ready and knowing your value and knowing what the world is likely to throw at you and knowing how to duck and dodge it. Like, one thing that I say, like at Howard, that we would learn, and this is very basic, but just giving an example, is like, you learn exactly what people are taught at PWIs, at predominantly white institutions, but you also learn the truth. If you get what I mean. So, like, let's say we're learning about Abraham Lincoln. Well, usually at a PWI, you might learn that he freed the enslaved Africans, right? And that's, I mean, right now they're starting to adjust to a more accurate narrative, but for the longest we were taught, oh, he freed Black people, this and that. But you'll learn that, but then there will be further discussion about it, like at a HBCU. They will tell you, okay, yeah, he did. However, if he was trying to save the Union, if saving the Union required to keep Black people enslaved, then I don't know if Abraham would have chosen to. It wasn't a moral choice, you know.
Right.
Right. Abolitionists thought he didn't stand for anything. He wasn't an abolitionist. He was like right in the middle. He's very lukewarm, you know. And so those are the things that you learn. And then it puts you at a different understanding of this world, of especially this nation that we're raised in, and what they expect of us. And it gives you a different confidence when you're coming out. And so for me, I'm able to apply that to filmmaking too, because I don't look, I don't know what they put in the Kool-Aid at HBCUs, especially Howard, but we walk out just knowing we're insufferable. Do you know us Howard grads? We are insufferable. Especially we got the vice president in, we got Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. You can't tell us nothing, but that goes for everyone, for every HBCU. And you see it. I can tell a Spelman woman. I can. They walk differently. And they didn't come to school walking that way. They left walking that part. Yeah. I can tell a Morehouse man, when I was my first year at USC, we all had to like introduce ourselves, and they were going around the room. And this one young Black man, when it was his turn, he stood up and introduced himself. And everyone sat down and introduced themselves. This man stood up. I said he went to Morehouse.
Wow.
Because Morehouse, they have you stand, when you speak, you take up space. And that's what I mean. Like, we're taught not to take up space, but HBCU teach you to take up space. And I went and talked to him, and guess what? Morehouse. It's like, you see it. And so no matter what your field is, whether it be film or whatever you so choose, it teaches you to take up space in the craft that you're choosing. And so, and plus I also did study a little film at Howard as well. And when I got to USC for my master's, I realized how far ahead I was in my knowledge of lighting and my knowledge of all this. And I only learned it from Howard. I was way ahead of a lot of the other students. And so, which I didn't think I had learned enough, but clearly I had. Howard had taught me. So yeah, there's a lot to take from my school.
Well, thank you for that, because we're having a forum on HBCU, the Real Talk. So I have a bunch of folks from different places, but that is so true. You have a confidence, and also it's like an entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, people get trained to go to corporate America. That's fine, but even in corporate America, you do differently. You think differently. You react differently. It is something in the air that something.
At all HBCUs, you talk to anyone that went to an HBCU, they will talk like their school is the greatest school that ever existed. Like, and they should. They should, because there's something that, being in that type of environment where you see other brilliant Black minds all around you, it validates you, know? And that's why I'm trying to get my niece and nephew to apply to HBCUs for that reason, because like it's different going to school, another school, because there's a peer pressure at HBCU. At least let me speak for Howard. If you miss class, your friends aren't like letting that slide. That's not cute. Like, you're held accountable. So like, say you went to a party over the weekend, you was out all night, people expect you to be at that 8 a.m. statistic class on Monday. So like, if you need to know how to party, and you need to know how to get your work done. And it's a different, like, it's like your peers understand that we have a different level of work to do as a people. And so while you can party and have fun like you would at any PWI and all that, and maybe you miss class the next day at a PWI, people aren't like checking for you like that. They be like, oh, they was partying last night. I was going to Howard, you get clowned. You would get clowned if you could not balance. They'd be like, what are you doing? Then don't go party. If you can't go up to your 8 a.m. statistic class. Like, we're here for a reason. And that type of positive peer pressure is like, I've only really seen it at HBCUs. You know,
I think you're trying to fit in other ways at predominantly white institutions. You're just trying to fit in and just hold your ground. That's not fun to say.
I missed a class at USC. Ain't nobody calling me. Nobody was
They don't
like,
even
"Where
see you
are you
for one thing. They're not even looking at you until they got to be in a project with you. Then they
You know
connect.
what they're like? They're like, good. Glad you missed class because now I'm going to get this pitch that we have to do because you over sleep. Whereas my experience at HBCU, it's not like that. It's like, no. We got to look out for our brothers and sisters. And so why aren't you in class? We got this pitch. You need to do well. So there's a
go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's just basically, it feels like community to me. It feels like family, like a community. And then when you go out into the world and you start going to PWIs and stuff, it's like you can build that community in your own little pocket, but it's not like everybody. Like at HBCUs, it feels like everybody looking out, you know?
Yeah. That's like when you go into a job and you see that one Black person and you're like,
get that look. You know?
And then you hope that they're cool. You hope that they're, that they're decent people because
right.
But it's interesting. How do you go? First of all, do you have a manager now? Do you have a lawyer now? Are you doing you have that? How did you even go about that process? Trusting to bring people on to represent you, and how did you? Was it just referrals?
It all started with Lala's House, my thesis short out of USC that won the Student Academy Award. So I got not recruited, but the agents come to you. This is important to know because everybody wants an agent, everybody wants a manager, you all want, but let me tell you, it doesn't change a thing. You still have to hustle the way that you've been hustling. Everything's not going to just fall on your lap now that you got an agent. Like I got picked up by CAA when I won the Student Academy Award. And
Creative Artist Agency, if anybody.
Yeah, Creative Artist Agency, right? So like the big ones are CAA, WME, William Morris, Endeavor. And then the other ones are like Gersh and UTA, United Talent Agency.
But they have such a large roster of people. You're just another.
And you can't just because you get picked up, you can't just sit around and hope that they do something for you because they're not. They say they will. Let me tell you that, but they're not. You need to do your own work. You can't wait for people to hand you things. It's just not that. You always have to be hustling. So you need to, when you do get an agent after you've done your work, you don't go looking for agents and managers when you haven't done anything. Make those films, send them to festivals like this and all around, win awards, get attention, and they will come. They will be there. They're looking. Don't you go trying to grab somebody. You want them to look at you because you don't need them. You don't need them. Right. You will still be hustling the way you did even when you have them. But once you do have an agent and you are doing the work and doing the hustling, they have connections. So once you're like, oh, I have a script because you did the work. Can you send this out for me? Now there's something for them to do. But you can't just show up and be like, oh, I did a short. Give me a job. It's like it doesn't work like that.
So how do you go from one project to the next in your hustle? How do you, is it just word of mouth? People contact you because they saw your last film? Like, how did you get started with the Hulu Jagged Edge? How did you get started with that?
Jagged Edge. I've been calling it Jagged Edge too, girl. Everyone Black calls it Jagged Edge. It's Jagged Mine. But I was calling it Jagged Edge. Like, let's get married. Yeah. Because Hulu named it. I didn't name it. So like we all kept messing up calling it that. Especially at ABSF where we premiere.
Oh God.
So anyway, let me finish the agent thing first. So like, I was at CAA and then I went and I still kept making things. I made I'm Fine and I had other management too. And like even when I was winning things and getting stuff done on my own, I wasn't being sent out on generals. I wasn't like, you still wasn't like when you go to these really big places, it's harder because they they representing the biggest of the biggest, right? So even when you're doing well and you're hustling, sometimes you still get overlooked. And so
Mhm.
I ended up going to Gersh, and Gersh has been, it's still a very big agency, you know, like Angela Bassett is there and such, but they're a little more intimate. And
Mhm.
so that's really panned out for me, but I've still been hustling. I've been bringing them work, and they love it. And then they work for me to give me the actors that I need. And so like,
Okay.
not like it's a very partnership is what it is, you know, like I'm bringing ideas and I'm bringing work, and they go and they get the actors and they get, you know, so it works very well like that. Now, your question was like, what?
Oh, how do you go from one thing to the next? How do you what's your hustle? How
No,
what is that hustle like?
starting out, it's got to be your stuff, and you've got to like, I don't care, crowdfund. Call my daddy used to always tell me that your greatest resource is people, not money. If you have people who believe in you and people who are talented, that is your greatest resource. And that's why I'm an advocate of school too. Not because you can't learn film on your own. You can. An f-stop's an f-stop wherever you go, but it's really the network you're paying for,
Mhm.
and the other hungry people that are just as crazy as you that are going to these programs, and then you like build that network. But I was able to make I'm fine through my network, through my USC network, because I didn't have any money like that. And then a producer I'd worked with ended up helping give the finishing funds and stuff.
Mhm.
So anyway, it was making my things. And then when it goes to festivals, festivals help a lot. Festivals like yours, Ada, they help to bring awareness, and you need to get your work out there and place them into festivals.
Mhm.
And then that's when your name starts buzzing around. So it was because I kept doing the work. I wasn't looking for anybody. I wasn't like, hey, Fox Disney, you got anything? I just did the
Mhm.
work. And
Mm.
then when you do that and you don't stop, because it's everything's not always going to pop off. It doesn't matter. That experience of doing it only makes you better. So when you do the next one, and then maybe that pops off. So that's when they come to you. So they came to me after I did the work. And I still didn't just get it. I had to pitch against other directors. And so, but what I did is like that Jagged Mind was it took place. It was two white women in New York City at an art gallery and all that stuff. And I I've seen this before. Mine is like the two women portion of it, but like I went into the pitching a completely different story, not completely different, but the key elements different, because I knew who I am as a director. I know my voice, and I know that I'm always putting um people of color in the film, and so this didn't have that. So I'm like, well, if you want me to direct, the lead's going to be black. There's like, I switched everything else. I was like, the art needs to be, I don't care, Afro-Caribbean, something that is. And
So they're not dictating to you. You're dictating to them what you want.
yeah,
Huh. I don't think people have the confidence for that because they're so excited to be at the table.
exactly, and you got to be okay with not getting it, because it's they might not like your point of view, but it's your point of view. You don't want to go in trying to guess what other people want. You are a director, you are a creative. You can only do what you can do. And if they called you in there based off of something you've done before, clearly they like something about you. So
Mhm.
bring you. Don't do what you think they want you. They half the time they don't know what they want. They just got a project and they like, it seems cool. Wonder what ideas we could get. They don't always know. And
Mhm.
you bring ideas and then they're like, that sounds fresh. But people think like when they're looking at these projects, they think that they can that they're trying to match what the executive might want, and they're guessing. And
Mhm.
so that's what I steer clear of,
Mhm.
because you need to do what feels good to you, because it's going to show in your work. It's going to show
Mhm.
if you're
Well, you represented. You got to represent your work. I mean, you're the one
Yeah,
that
actually,
ultimately
the location, girl, it was in New York. I said, look, there's magical elements in this. We should put it somewhere where people actually believe in magic so it could feel real. And so I had pitched New Orleans. I was like, this should take place in New Orleans. We should have an interracial couple to create more social tension between them already, and this and that. And then the producer, they liked it. I got the pitch, even though I changed a lot of stuff in there. I was very surprised because I went in there and I was like, yeah, this needs to be blackety black, 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 black this, black that. I was like, I left there like, I'd be shocked if they choose, and they did.
That's the Howard in her, people. That's the Howard University in her.
That's what HBCUs teach. It's like confidence. It's important.
Yeah, you think black first. You
shouldn't be shamed. It's who you are. It's what you're made of, and if they like what you do and they want what you do, that's what they're gonna get. They know who they inviting. You invite Spike Lee, you think he ain't gonna come on? Like, you gotta know what you want and what you represent as an artist. So if you're Latin and you want to represent your Latin stories, be Latin and don't be ashamed of it. Like, we're always constantly assimilating and trying to fit in, and that's fine to a balance. You code switch to a level. Can't live your whole life code switching.
So who taught you how to pitch? I mean, how did you like I said, you came from your family, and then boom, you pitch into producers, and who taught you that? How did you go? Did you observe?
Church taught me how to pitch. If I'm being real, the Black church taught me how to pitch. I growing up my dad was a pastor. So growing up in the church, you always had to give Christmas speeches. You always had to give Easter speeches. You always had to get up and tell them what you did at school. Oh, like you constantly, Black churches, they make kids talk. You gonna get up and you gonna say your little speech and you gonna memorize it. And so truthfully, I think that's where I got my speaking skills, and then my storytelling skills again was from the Black church. Like watching my dad from the pulpit tell these stories but stories that we already read biblically, right? But the way he'll reshape it and do all it it's when you're pitching, you're telling a story. So if you like, it's not formulaic in a way like that. Like, of course you have your order in which you're going to do it. But I think the difference is when I pitch, I'm telling a story. I'm in there painting a picture to the detail, to the color, to the, and it's like, if you like to tell stories, put that into your pitching. Don't be afraid to color it, because a lot of the times, the majority of the times, the executives need to see these things. They're not, some of them aren't. If you're lucky, you get a very creative and imaginative executive, but a lot of them aren't. And that's why they're in the business world. And so you have to make it as clear as possible. You can't assume that they can see what you're seeing. You have to put it in my deck. I use GIFs. I don't just use pictures. I get a GIF program, and if there's somebody who is a character who is falling in love or whatever, I'll find a clip from a movie of two people kissing, and but they'll run to each other, and it just gives that little bit of motion into your deck, into your pitch, instead of just still photos. I mean, still photos are fine, but it's just little things like that. What are you doing to be visually stimulating as much as possible?
So when you're pitching, you said a deck. People, the layman doesn't know what that is.
So you put together a deck. I introduce myself, so I always put my name, a photo, even though I'm there. I don't know why I do that, but whatever. I put a picture in. Because they'll pass it around. Sometimes certain execs can't be in the room. And so I'll just put a photo there and have a little blurb about me. But you want to keep the language short. You don't want to have huge paragraphs. People don't like to read. They just don't. This is a visual world. And so like, yeah, you want to keep the words very, very short. So you speak to yourself what you do. My background is in anthropology and film. I love stories about this and this, and this story really gets me excited because of X, Y, and Z. Because in my life, you always try to find something that like ties to it. I don't care how far off it may be, just try to personalize it as much as you can. And then you get into talking about the story. And then as you're talking about the story, you're talking about the beats and like what's important, you then paint out the way the camera's going to move and why. Like maybe we are on wide lenses, but close up so that we distort the character, because in this scene, the character feels very disconnected from the world, very different from everyone. So maybe, so if you're on an 18 lens, that's super wide, and then you go close to the actor, they're going to be very distorted, and that is impactful when you're telling the story. So you get into those details about like how the camera's going to be, what are those lenses. I go into color. I always assign story to color. Like in Lala's house, yellows with those little girls meant innocence, and right when they get to the orphanage, blue meant danger and loss. And but when they changed them to the blue uniforms, I still kept the yellow ribbons in their hair so that there still was some hope of their innocence and their youth being saved. And so like, and then the reds also meant like death and danger. I was like foreshadowing a death and like all these, like, so like even with color, and you explain all of these things, and that makes it more enticing to the person who's sitting on the other side listening.
Well, pitch is like going into an interview. We have executives sitting around, and you have what, 30, 20 minutes, 15 minutes to get that out, and then they ask questions, and okay.
And then that's it. And another thing I do, sometimes when you get to the end of your pitch, the executives will not say anything. Sometimes you'll get there, you had your top hat and your tap shoes, and you was doing everything, and then it's like crickets, and you're like, and it makes you want to keep talking, you know. But I make myself not talk. Like I am done. I've told you my ideas, and so we all gonna sit there in silence then, until you got a question, because I'm not, it's also a tactic that some people use to try to get like more out of you. But if they want more out of me, they need to ask a question.
Good so for you.
Yeah. So it's hard because it's awkward. It's real weird. And you want to say something to break the ice, but sometimes they just need to think. They just need to process things. And
that's good. That's good to know. That's good advice, just to share that scene, because it's very visual.
It also makes you look in control. If you're just rambling because it's quiet and you feel you need to fill the space, like it doesn't make you come across as like you have control and confidence in what you just presented. And so although in your mind you might be rambling and like your mind is like, oh my God, you know, you need to put on a presence of, you know, do you want more out of me, or what, you know, like you are an equal to them, because you are. They're the executives, they're the ones getting the money, getting it done, and you're the creative that's going to help get it done, but you both are equals.
Yeah, you're the creative that's going to make them more money once it's done.
Right.
Yeah. How about that? So I know you have a lot to do, but I just wanted to know, are there any projects that you can talk about that's upcoming? Kemba is coming out next, you said March, that would be coming out?
March next year, BET 2024. But we are we are world premiering at the Fort Lauderdale. We're world premiering at the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival in November, and then we're also going to be at St. Louis. We're in St. Louis Film Festival, which
I would hope in her hometown, Virginia, will eat that up. Even her.
I don't know. I don't know where they apply. That's another thing, y'all. When you're used to being the one applying, right? But when it goes to studios, it's like I can't. Like even if you ask to see the film right now, I don't know. I gotta call the executives. They have the link. I can't even watch my own
Mm-hmm.
self, you know? So it's
Do
like,
you like that, or do you not like that? Once you do something, you have no control over it.
there's parts of it that I like because I don't want to have to worry about applications and all that kind of stuff. But then there's also a part where it's like I want to access my film sometimes when I just want to sit and watch it, or I want to. There were festivals that I thought we should have applied to, and they chose not to. And I would have, if I had access, I'd be like, get my own credit card, be like, I pay for it. Let's just apply anyway, you know. But you don't always have that power, and you have to be persuasive. A lot of working with the studios it's more about having the ability to persuade. I feel like you're on the defense most of the time, whereas when you're an independent filmmaker, you're on the offense and trying to get things done, trying to have it. But when you are working with a studio, it's more defensive to me and protecting the vision, to make sure that it's that it survives as much as you can. Because there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and that's just what it is. It ain't your money. You didn't hustle for that. So you have to understand that this is show business. You can't be all sensitive about it. You're not always going to have final say. Hopefully you do get final cut one day again when you get to studio level. But you know, they're the money people, so they get to have that final cut and that final say. And you, hopefully, again, it's going back to what I said at the start, you've built that rapport and you've built a family to where they will at least hear your opinions. And I feel like my executives have done that. So even when they've made decisions that I don't particularly agree with, we have talked about it and I felt heard. And from talking about it, I understand why they're making that decision. So like, although maybe that's not my creative choice, I get why they're doing it, you know? So it's like, you just got to understand those things.
Well, let's just close out with, do you have any advice for people that are just have made that first feature film or want to make that first feature film, and just the direction of what you advise them to go? I know you said to keep working, keep doing your own stuff. Is there anything additional to get out there to them?
This game is for hustlers. You can't think that there's a formula. And if I do this, then I'll get this. It doesn't work like that. So you got to have that endurance. It's like Nipsey saying this is a marathon, because it really is. And you got to be okay with that. You got to really love what you're doing. You can't be doing this to be famous. If you're doing it because you love storytelling and you know the power of storytelling, because here's the thing, it's like our industry, our powers as writers, directors, producers, creatives, we can change the minds of masses. We can, if you choose, like a lot of my stories are about like positive social change for certain issues that we're facing. And I disguise it in an entertaining way. I Trojan horse it so you think you're watching something entertaining, but I'm actually teaching you something. So like that is more powerful than, to me, like even being in politics. Like media can make or break a politician. Like we have to be careful about what we choose to do, what we choose to say, because it can influence in a positive way and a negative way. And so you have to really have reverence for what we do as storytellers and understand that you are psychologically impacting the masses with every single thing that you make visually, and also for musicians too. So if you gotta love it, you gotta understand what your power is and keep going. There is no one way. You have to pave your own path. You gotta make the road, and you gotta be okay with that. And you gotta be excited about it. It's like, it's not about the finished film for me. Like, it's great, but it was about the process of making it. You gotta enjoy the process. And you have to be ready, keep writing. Or if you're not a writer, find a writing partner that keeps having content. You got to keep creating and doing crowdfunders, I don't care if you have to keep doing shorts until you get a feature. got to keep making things. That's why I made I'm Fine during the pandemic. I could not sit still and wait for the world to say, okay, now you can go. Like I had to find a way to keep making things. It's a numbers game too.
Yeah.
The more you make, the more likely you are to get something going as well. Like, and of course I would encourage it to be quality, but honestly, it's an exercise. You're exercising a muscle. Just keep making things and don't make excuses. It's not like this is 1990 where everything's shot on film and you got to go ask like Kodak for film ends.
Right. You can
like
do it with your camera.
Robert Townsend did. Like you got your phone.
Yeah.
They like Tangerine one at Sundance, and he shot that all on his iPhone.
Wow.
There's no excuse. You can constantly make things with the technology we have now.
Yeah.
You get Adobe Suite, like you gotta hustle. I did every single job to be able to get like Lala's house, the like original doc for when I was going back and forth to Haiti. I was working, you know, those people at the club that hand you the paper towel in the bathroom. Look, anybody had a job. I was like, what, you need people to hand out paper towels? I was standing in the bathroom handing out paper towels or the club because I was getting whatever money I could get. I was working another job so that I can make the movies and do the stories that I wanted to do and tell this. But you can't make excuses. You can't be like, I ain't got no money. Okay, so go hand out paper towels in the club. I was handing out paper towels in the bathroom in a club. I don't want to hear excuses. Okay.
Look at me now, damn it. No, that's inspiring. Thank you for that. That's inspiring. Because I think that sometimes people don't see past handing out paper towels. They don't see their life past that because there's so much that can discourage you. There's so much that throws you off. It is hard as shit being an adult.
Oh yeah, there's a
lot. Adulting is hard.
There's a lot of stress. I know there's another. Oh God, and what's his name? Big filmmaker, you all know. Forget his name, but anyway, for his first film, big director, dang it, he had kids, he had wife, he had to work full time, but he shot every weekend he found a way to shoot, and it took like over a year or something before he had a finished film, and that film started his career. It's like I don't want to hear it. You know, there's a way. There's always a way. There's so many avenues to do things.
We're going to leave folks with that. There's always a way. No excuses.
Yes.
Kelley, I am so grateful because you are like, I don't even know how you have time to breathe. You are so busy.
For you, Ada, anything. We're going to make it happen. I told the folks I was supposed to be on the call right now. I told them they're gonna have to wait because I'm talking to Ada.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, girl, we will continue watching and following your career. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud you're a Howard alum and that you are doing your thing. Keep doing it, girl.
Thank you. And congratulations to everyone who's at the festival.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep on shining. If you want to message me, you have any questions, anything that I couldn't answer because I'm not live with you, just send me a message on Instagram at I am Kelley Kali, and just have patience because sometimes you end up in that little graveyard of messages. And it takes a second for me to get to it. So just have patience and I will get back. And if you don't hear from me, send another message, but I will find you and eventually reply. So that's just awesome. Feel free to reach out. Yeah.
Tell Brian Vincent Rose I said hey.